Revolution of Love. Jesse sent us an email asking for us to do a show on the Revolution of Love, so that's what we're doing. We're here to disabuse you of ideas which hold your mind prisoner. We're here to tell you to turn on, tune in, drop out, join the Revolution of Love. So that's what we're talking about today. Craig, are you with us?
I'm with you. Welcome, everybody.
All right. So we're going to move on to some details about, like, okay, what is the Revolution of Love? When is it coming? How is it coming? What are we doing here? Jesse wanted us to dig in deep with this topic. So let's start with the very first thing. Very first thing is a lot of us, I've seen even some comments on YouTube just today, looking at the We Are From the Future videos saying, you know, there's all this bad stuff going on. How can you believe in a revolution of love happening? Well, you know, sometimes you got to hit rock bottom before you can really realize that there's a better way and ask for there to be a better way. So when we in unison as a humanity say there's got to be a better way, that's when the revolution of love really starts to happen in force. But before that happens, there are kind of the angels and the architects of this revolution of love. You are one of them if you're tuning into this show. Wayseers are this amazing tribe of people who are low in neurological repression, very open to seeing things that most others don't. And one of the things you're more open to is the causation of love. And the reason you're open to that is because your mind goes from great extremes. You can experience the highest states of consciousness and love. You can experience the lowest states of hatred and depression. But when love comes to town, you are one of the first to notice it. That's why you're here. That's why we are in communion with each other. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, Craig, what do you got to say about the revolution of love?
You know, I'm just watching the comments and I'm feeling your guys' pain. You know, the profiteers, the corporations, the ignorance in this world that is destroying this world, destroying this planet, which is our home. You know, we all live here, not just the people that are plundering and pillaging and taking for themselves and leaving the rest to suffer in really feeling separate and alone, because the first way that they get power over us is by keeping us disconnected from ourselves, from the light, from each other, and from a vision of what's possible. So part of what we're doing here today with the Revolution of Love is bringing that vision back into focus, bringing everyone together so you can get juiced up, so you can refill your brain with dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin, and realize that you're not alone. And truthfully, there's more of us than there are of them. There's way more of us than there are of them. And the problem is that they're just better organized, and they've been doing it longer. You know, we're all still kind of wondering how do we get ourselves into gear. So that's really what I'd like to talk about today is how do we pull off a revolution of love? You know, the whole Occupy movement fizzled out. Like, what can we actually do that's going to bring this thing into focus and help us push this yin yang a little more towards our side of the balance, right? Get things a little more in our favor, because right now, with the way things are going with the current administration, it's looking pretty grim.
So yeah, let's jump into that. First of all, I was deeply immersed in the Occupy movement. I went down to Zuccotti Park in September and then helped bring it up to Boston. And, you know, truthfully, I did not experience a lot of the people who participated in the Occupy movement as coming from a place of love. In fact, I was very surprised about that. So that's just one thing that we might want to take note of, is that previous revolutions have not always been revolutions of love. The Occupy movement, the experience of it, although there was a great amount of warmth and camaraderie in the very early days of it, as it grew, there was a lot of anger and sort of, I don't know, almost an aggressiveness to many of the participants. And you know, we weren't all coming from a place of love. We were coming more like fuck Wall Street. Like that was kind of the spirit, that this feeling of that we are being put upon by the powers that be, by people who are, you know, looting our nation, looting our planet of the precious resources we are all that are of all of our inheritance, and there's anger there, and it's right. I understand there's anger, but that's not how we're going to fix things with anger, because as soon as we get too angry, any kind of anger is really stemming from a place of fear. And when we're coming from that place, all we're doing is just fighting in the battle. And like Craig just said, the people who we'd be fighting against are very organized, and they're running the power structure. So that means they have the tanks and the military and the SWAT teams and the crowd control and all of that. And you better believe it that if we were to rise up as a nation in a semi-violent way with anger at our backs, that would go really badly for the people in the streets, and there would be a bunch of sort of militarized police to quash that. And I think a lot of people would get hurt and potentially be killed in that kind of uprising. So Martin Luther King had it right. Gandhi had it right. You come from a place of love, and the people holding the weapons and driving the tanks and using the crowd control start to come to their senses, and it's very hard to hurt or injure someone who is coming from a place of true love and compassion, because they're not attacking you. And if you are showing love and compassion for the people opposite you in the streets, and you are showing love and compassion for the people who are, quote, causing the problem, something miraculous happens. That is soul force. And soul force is the perfect antidote to everything we're experiencing as a form of oppression. Because when we're being exploited, the expected reaction from those who are holding seats of power is that to be attacked, to have people rise up against them, to have people angry with them. They know they're doing the wrong thing, but they think they're doing the wrong thing because they need to, or there's something inside them, whether it's greed or fear, that is kind of compelling them to keep doing this thing. Hey, all right. So that little icon that just showed up, this is for people who join us on Twitch. There's all kinds of cool Twitch doohickeys that you can participate with. And so what you just saw there is a Twitch thing. I know people from Twitch are like, duh, but people who are not from Twitch, that's what you're seeing. And if you want to join us, you can go to twitch.tv/GarrettJohn. And that's our Twitch channel, and you'll get a bunch of extra little things you can do via Twitch to participate in this. There's also a link in the description here, so if you want to literally interrupt our live stream with a statement, you can do that audibly with this link that's in our description, so you can follow that. Anyway, well, that distracted me, but I think it's a good distraction. And Craig, I'll just let you kind of riff on what you take away from what I just said.
I think that, I'm trying to remember the John Lennon quote, but it was something to the effect of, if we fight on their terms, we've already lost. We've already lost. That's what I'm hearing you say, right? We're never going to beat their tanks and their guns and their organized militaristic structure. The only way to do this is to take the game onto our turf, and that's the way we need to win this. And the way to do that is to become nonviolent, is to get in touch with who we really are, and to come from that place. Because when we're coming from that place, it's love, and there's nothing to fight against. I think that's the great teachings of all of the great traditions, the wisdom traditions from every culture. Resist not evil, turn the other cheek. It's that type of thing, which is really hard to do. And I think that's the temptation. I think that's really the temptation, is it looks so bad, it looks so scary, that we get jacked, just like that Zen koan when you're walking down it's not a koan, but the parable when you're walking through the woods and you see a snake and your whole body seizes up, but it's not really a snake, it's a stick or it's a rope. Right? Is that when we see these horrible things happening in the world around us, we get, our fear response mobilizes us to want to take action. And that's what we need to be. That's where that battle actually needs to be fought, is in ourselves, right? Facing our own dark side and realizing how we're responsible for what we're seeing around us.
You got it, Craig. The battle that we need to fight is within ourselves, and actually, the battle that we need to not fight is within ourselves. There is the real you. There is the holy you, the transcendent self, the greater self that all mystical traditions and great religions have pointed towards, is that there is this transcendent self that is the beyond you. It's not the little self that you identify with as the ego. It's not the person who's responds to the name you've been called your whole life. It is like, you know, you identify with being a cloud in the sky, but when you transcend yourself, you realize you are the sky. And that is the self that you want to come into oneness with, come into identity with. You want to start identifying with the greater you. Now, how do you do that? The greater you is also the greater everybody else, that we share this sort of one being, you know, in some religions it could be like the one being in Christ, or the one child of the Creator. We are ultimately one when you reach this level of self-transcendence. And so that means that anyone you're attacking in your thoughts is attacking yourself. And that means that the way to transcend all the negativity that we feel that our country and our environment is being plunged into is to find in yourself that non-resistance, that greater transcendence, where you feel like you feel at oneness with everyone, and you feel that atonement. Hey, we've got another person following us on Twitch. We will adapt these as we go along. Don't feel embarrassed if you do this, because it's kind of fun. I want there to be as much interactivity as possible, at least in the early days while we're getting our sea legs. So anyway, back to what we were saying is, if you are identified with the small you, you'll see that you're being attacked on all these fronts, that the money in your bank account is being eroded by quantitative easing. That means that you could have $100,000 in your bank account, and then the government goes and prints 20% more money. That's called quantitative easing. And then your money is worth $80,000 in the bank, even though it says $100,000, it only buys $80,000 worth of stuff. We have all experienced that happening, whether you know it or not, because that's what has been going on in a big way since 2008. So since that's happening, we also are experiencing all sorts of destruction at a macro level. We're seeing sort of kleptocrats stealing from our sacred systems. We're seeing people's incomes taking a dive while the shareholders are getting big bonuses. And this is all very frustrating on a surface level. But the solution is not to fight it so much. We should stand up and resist it. But the peaceful resistance is not one of aggression. It's not one of attack, and it's not one of anger. It is more like how you would treat a 2-year-old that is tantruming, not sharing, hitting their brother or sister. You could see their bad behavior, but you love them. And you treat them with gentle kindness, but firmness, saying, you can't do that anymore. It's so fun to see people following us on Twitch. I think Twitch is like the next new big thing. I mean, some people have been on it forever, but we're new there, and we love all the followers on Twitch, because I think there's a lot of fun stuff we can do through Twitch. So if you follow us, it's great to see that. Anyway, knowing that the way to change the people, right now, there are probably about 400 families that have a stranglehold on not only our country, but, hey, thanks, Jeffy. This is great. That's fantastic.
That's cool.
Oh, that was awesome, Jeffy. I love it. All right, that was our first Twitch donation. So you can, if you want to do that too, there's a link right in our description that should take you there. And it's so cool. I love this new tech. We're finally starting to have a good time with the tech. That's great. Anyway, back to what I was saying is, I think there's probably about 400 families that have a stranglehold on all of the power structures, and all of the economic systems, not only in our country, but in our world. And that means that no matter what we do as a form of like physical resistance, chances are they will quash it. Chances are they will beat us. And the reason they will beat us is just because there's more of us doesn't mean that they won't find manipulative ways to divide us and conquer us. And that is what happened with the Occupy movement. That is what happened with many, quote, peaceful revolutions. What they can do to a, quote, peaceful revolution is you might have 10, 50,000 people in the streets. They will send thugs to go in and start violence, start throwing bricks through windows, start fights, start hurting other people, start attacking police to give them an excuse for the police to attack back, even though it's really them who are attacking the police. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like any peaceful movement can be sabotaged by the powers that be. However, here is our solution. Our solution is to create a culture of love that is so rich, that is so powerful, that is so palpable, that it literally melts the egos of everyone who it touches. That means that you might have a narcissistic, sociopathic, greedy motherfucker who is at the helm of major power systems that is, looting and pillaging our country, our environment, our world, our planet. But all of a sudden, these people that they come into contact with are just beaming so much love and compassion and joy and sense of not needing anything, like a lack of fear, that it rubs off on them, that they catch the love bug, that they catch some of that love and they internalize it. And when they internalize it, it softens them. So you might start a bit of a love revolution right in your own home. That means when somebody in your household or in your community does something which you would ordinarily take issue with, get pissed off about, find fear, recoil into some form of fear or selfishness, practice shining more love into that situation. And when you do that, it's contagious, because when someone else experiences that contagious love that you are shining forth, then they internalize that. That melts their heart a little bit. Their heart gets filled with that love a bit more. Their interactions go on to create more love too. And it's this amazing, contagious effect of love. So love is like this intelligent energy that, when released into the world, goes on and on, creating in its own image. And that creative essence of love is an intelligence. It's not just like some people call it like love energy, or just think of love as an emotion. Love is an intelligence. Love is our intelligence. The thing that you are experiencing the world with, your consciousness, is literally created out of love. It is the essence of love. Life on this planet is literally love, and that is what life feels like. So when you encounter life, you are encountering love, and that's why you feel love for another when you really witness the life in them. And so that contagious life force, that contagious love force, is something that we all have the opportunity to release into the world through everybody we encounter. And you can't make a policy that's going to make more love in the world. You can't vote more love into office, though you could vote somebody who is more loving into office. But all of the fighting, all of the resisting, all of the anger, all of the self-righteousness we feel is actually a block to the awareness of love's presence both in our own hearts and in those all around us. And when we start witnessing to that, when we start witnessing to the goodness in others, and when we start experiencing the love in others and sharing that love and beaming our love into other people's lives with simple things like buying a stranger or a distant acquaintance their cup of coffee when you see them in line at the local coffee shop, or when you're at the bar, buy someone a drink and just be friendly to them. When you see a stranger, just have the courage to break the ice and bring some love into their life. And just by doing that, you are starting the revolution of love. And when you keep doing that, and when we all keep doing that, it will snowball and have the snowball effect where those actions will reach the people who have their fingers on the button who have a stranglehold of our economies, who have a stranglehold on our power structures, and those experiences of people really genuinely loving them, not playing them, not networking with them, not trying to get something from them, but genuinely loving them. It will soften their egos too. It will weaken the fear that has their hearts doing the wrong thing, and they will start to, because love is the opposite of fear. So when they start to feel that love and internalize that love, they too will start to go, wait a second, what am I doing here? I don't need this. I'd rather see like everybody have more. And I think that is our opportunity with this revolution of love. And at the same time, it's not necessarily going to be easy. We may have to experience a lot of hardship, because love, it's like, it's easy to quote love somebody who is doing everything the way you would have them do it. When things are good, it's like, it's easy to quote love when that's happening. But is that really love, or is that just being pleased with the situation and the people doing what you would have them do? It's harder to exercise genuine love when someone is misbehaving, and when things aren't going well, and when you're feeling attacked and hurt. And that really, I think, is going to be our challenge in this coming revolution, because this is a revolution of true love, a revolution of love, where we might be challenged to transcend our situations and transcend the bad behavior we experience from others, and find a way to see the good in them, to see the best in them, to see the opportunity for us all to steer things in a higher direction. That's going to be, I think, a great challenge for all of us. That is what Gandhi called the work of soul force, or love force, or life force. He called it all those things. But if you really think about what soul force is not, the easy answer. It takes a great work of your soul to transcend all the negative physical stuff that you are encountering, and to transcend that with the power of your soul, to bring love into an equation where that equation only seems to be calling for greater fear and condemnation and contempt and anger. And all of a sudden, for you to transcend that situation and to bring forth love, that is true soul force, and there's a great power there.
Are you guys getting the chills? I just had chills ripple through my body. What I'm noticing is, I've just got them again. You're talking about buying somebody a cup of coffee, buying somebody a beer. The way I think about it, there's 7.35 billion of us on the planet, and we're all like cells in the Gaia mind, and we have neurotransmitters in our brain, and we are neurotransmitters for each other. So buying somebody a beer, buying somebody a cup of coffee, that's like it's like a billiard ball bumping into them, and then that billiard ball bumps into somebody else, right? What I like to do, I call it the oxytocin bomb. I like to just kind of chit chat with the cashier. They're kind of just asleep, doing their thing, just turning the crank, going through their day. I like to engage them a little bit. And then by the end, once we're all done, I say, hey, you did a great job, and give them a high five. And there's something about that physical contact, about that pop, that sound, and that change, that pattern interrupt in their day. And you can see that something changed in their brain. It was literally like this endorphin umbrella, like a fireworks, that explodes and just cascades down. And then the next person that they're interacting with, they've got more love in their system. So we need to be those neurotransmitters, those source neurotransmitters that make the decision, this is what I'm going to put out here. And if you guys are feeling the chills, just like I was, Garret he's starting to rev up his system, right? He's made the choice. Okay, this is what I can do. I can show up on Facebook Live. I can speak my truth. I can put it out there. People come together, and all of us are rippling out. He's bumping our neurotransmitters with dopamine, with serotonin, with oxytocin, the love chemicals. And now it's up to us to go out and bump into other people and to ripple those neurotransmitters through our brains out into other people's brains. And to me, that's the revolution of love. No guns, no tanks, no economic system can stop us from doing that.
Yeah, amen, amen. And there's another piece to this, and the other piece to this is that when we ask ourselves to come from a place of love and to shine love into other people's lives, we are met with the singular problem that most of us feel a little deprived, a little bit like there's not enough love to go around anyway, that there's not enough energy and love in our own lives and hearts, there's not enough abundance, there's not enough this, that, or the other thing for you to be truly generous, because you're feeling that you're feeling that scarcity within yourself, that scarcity of love within yourself, that there's just not enough attention. And those of us who, well, I guess everyone's had this experience where you say, you know what, I'm just going to be more loving. I'm going to do more for people. And you start doing more for people, but then you run into empty. And when you run empty, all of a sudden you just have nothing left to give, and you feel deprived. You feel like you've been taken advantage of. You've given all this love to other people, to your community, to your family, and they haven't given enough back, and all of a sudden you go empty. And that's a really hard feeling, because when you're empty, it becomes hard, if not impossible, to conjure more love for others, to give more love to others, because you don't have it yourself to give. And so people can get, when they overdo it, they can get sick, they can get depressed, they can just run into this place where it's like the gears have no grease, and that means that there's just not enough love in you to give more love to others. So what do we do about that? Well, here is the solution. And I'm going to say, I'm not going to bring up names here, because, when I bring up names, people like to get into controversy around this. But I will say this: the people who I have known who have had the most love to give are people who pray on the regular. And what they do, the kind of prayer that they exercise, is one where they turn to a higher power, a transcendent love, and they call in that transcendent love, and they ask that transcendent love to guide them, and they give that transcendent love to others. So I will tell you about one woman who I know personally who does when she walks into a room, she lights up the room. And when she talks to you, you feel like she's your loving mother, and she just exudes so much love and tenderness and attention on you. And it's like, it's addictive. It's like, wow, I want to talk with you more. And she gives you so much wisdom, and she is so full of enthusiasm and spirit and joy. And when I've asked her, how do you go about your day? How do you do this? And what she explained is that she spends an hour in prayer every morning, just asking for guidance and the love to do the work that she needs to do. And then she says she's not giving people her attention, she's giving people God's attention when she is out in the world, showering the world with love. And so whether you believe in God or not, you can say you're not intending to give your small self attention to others and that love, because you will run empty very quickly. What you want to do is tap into your transcendent self, that greater you, that sort of collective us, that collective being. And when you reach that higher power and you turn to that transcendent love to fill your heart, that becomes like a pipeline, and then you become capable of giving infinite amounts of love to anyone and everyone you meet, and you will be guided to say and do just the right things at just the right time. Sometimes those things you are guided to do will challenge you. You will feel like it's a big risk to say or do the thing that you're being prompted to do, but that is a miraculous impulse that comes through your heart, and you have the ability to work miracles when you are in that ecstatic state. And the way to be in that ecstatic state, and the way to be that infinite reservoir of love, is to be a conduit for the infinite reservoir of love. And the way you do that is by first attuning your attention to that infinite reservoir of love. So when we say turn on, tune in, drop out, what we're saying is, when we say tune in, we're saying tune into that infinite reservoir of love that we all have access to through self-transcendence. And what that feels like, in fact, so what we're going to do right now, I will talk about, waiting for guidance. What we're going to do right now is we are going to try together to tap into that infinite reservoir, okay? And the way you know when you're hitting it is you get the goosebumps, you get the frisson, you get your hair standing on end, you get that electric feeling, you feel more alive. So one way to do that is right now, maybe put on headphones or just like see if you can have a quiet space where nobody's watching you. It helps to do this where you're not being watched. And then the other thing is to just tune in and follow my voice, and I'm going to sort of try to take us through the process I use to reach that place, and we'll see if it works. Now, doing this live, you never know, but we're gonna take a whack at it. All right. So, first thing is just like, let's get still. All right, and we're going to set the intention of connecting to a higher power, a transcendent source of love, and whatever you call it, doesn't matter what you call it. It just matters that you call it. And you could call it the ring of truth. If you are completely atheistic, you could say, okay, well, this is this greater transcendent truth that you are not consciously able to comprehend. The universe is way bigger than any of us can consciously comprehend. So just recognize that there is something that holds this whole universe together, some transcendent intelligence that's greater than any singular intelligence, and whether that is the collective intelligence of all of life on this planet, or whether that is a divine being, or whether that is some intelligence or consciousness that created this universe. There are many who believe that this universe is composed underneath all the quantum stuff of some sort of consciousness. So whatever you want to call it, I like it to call it God or the Holy Spirit. Others like to call it Buddha or Krishna. Others like to call it the Ring of Truth. It doesn't matter what you call it. What matters is that we call it right now. So let's go. So first off, call that transcendent consciousness, okay? That means that there is a light right above your head, okay? And you want to like really use your third eye, your mind's eye, your imagination to look for this angelic light that is above you. It is partly your creator. It is partly you. And this light loves you so much, but you ignore it all the time. And that is just human nature, to ignore this light, because this light asks of you things that you would never consider easy to do according to our societal and cultural expectations. And so we ignore it. And it's like a child who's stuck in nursery school. And when they're stuck in nursery school, it's like it's not safe there, right? So mom and dad are away, and when mom and dad are away, you hold all the emotions in. You know, this is, we're talking about a 3-year-old here, a 4-year-old, and by holding those emotions in, it's like you become hardened, you become detached from what your heart really wants. But as soon as that loving parent shows up, it's like, oh, the emotions start welling up. And this is why we ignore this light, this transcendent love, because when you let this transcendent love in, you know, the tears can come, all those things you've been holding in for too long, they start to bubble up. And that's okay. It's okay for those things to bubble up. It's okay to get in touch with that, because that is what is going to bring the love into your heart. Is there is a divine, transcendent being, a loving intelligence that loves you so much. And all it wants is for you to just invite it in, let it come in through the top of your head, down through the alignment of your spirit, filling your heart with this radiant love. And the more you bask in this love, the more it can change you, transform you, give to you, and give to everyone in your life who you encounter. And so all we ask now is that you let this love in, let it fill you, ask it for guidance, surrender to it. And as you surrender to this great light, it will transform your thoughts, it will guide you for the rest of the day, and it will not only give to you, it'll give to everyone. And what it gives to you and to everyone is miracles. And so you let the miracles happen. And the way you let the miracles happen is you will have this impulse, this wonderful impulse to do crazy things. And when we say crazy, it's like, okay, you know, breaking the ice with that stranger, doing something unexpectedly generous, really being there full of light and love for that next person you encounter, no matter where they're coming from. Maybe they hit you from behind in an accident, and the instinct is to say, you really screwed this up. You screwed up my day. I'm late for blah blah blah, and that anger and frustration can come up, or you can go, nah, you know what? I got this. We'll just have some fun with this. We'll get the accident report written up, but don't worry about it. It's a good thing we're all safe. And those moments where you choose to be just a little bit more compassionate, forgiving, what have you, that can come from just having the state of grace coming through you and doing this work, once a day, finding some piece of music that just makes you happy and going with it and getting that experience of awe and wonder that we get when we call on our Creator. So, now I don't know if this little moment did it for you. I feel like the music was a little weak. We'll try to get that better next time. But if this didn't do it for you, hit some of our videos, because we have better music in those videos. They're a little better produced. And if you can check out, the We Are From the Future, Let There Be Light, Revolution of Love, whatever does it for you, or maybe some good Jonesy music, Sigur Rós. I love that stuff. Those pieces of music and the right intention. It's like maybe you feel like you're having to make it up a little bit, but fake it till you make it, because when you do experience that light pouring through your heart and soul, when you experience that there is some benevolent, loving, transcendent intelligence that just wants to be invited in, when you realize that you can do that at any moment, and that it really changes you and really gives you that electric, alive feeling, well, that's our work. That's where you get filled up. To fill up the world with love, you need to be filled up first. To transcend the world, you need to transcend yourself first. So amen. Hallelujah. All right. All right. So I don't know how that worked for everybody, but we figured we'd give that a shot. Little stretch. Maybe we'll get better at that. Hopefully we'll get better at that. But yeah, a feeble first attempt in a live performance.
It's fantastic, man. I applaud you for taking a risk. We've been working on this tech for weeks, and I'm glad to finally see that you got the keyboards cooking, and I think that it'll just snowball from here, like you were saying earlier.
All right. So are there any comments or questions that you might have noticed, Craig, that we should try to address while we're here, in our last 5 minutes?
I think what I keep seeing is they're loving this. They're
kind of weird with the music.
It was great.
That's all right. Now, we'll get better with the music. I get it. It's kind of weird, but you know what? It's just this is just the beginning. And honestly, my keyboard was not making the kinds of sounds I was hoping it was going to make. So, we'll get the kinks out, but you just gotta keep trying it. That's what we're doing. We're learning as we go along. Baby steps, exactly. We'll get better at this. The music will get better. The presentation will get better. All of it will get better. But, let this be a lesson let it be a lesson for me, and you can take the lesson too if you choose. It's if you don't do it, you can't get better at it. And so we're just doing it until we get better at it. And hopefully we get better quick. I certainly hope so. And I hope, if we're sincere about our effort and keep trying, hopefully that's how you improve. So whatever it is in your life that you're not doing because you're not quite good enough at it yet to do it well, but you really want to do it, you notice how long has it been that you've wished you could do that thing? And maybe it's because you just never do it, that you're not doing it well, but you wish you could do the thing. Well, okay, now it's time. Just do it. Just start doing it. Have the self-forgiveness and the self-acceptance and self-love to say, okay, yeah, this kind of sucks, but at least it's a step in the right direction. And I think that's what this, revolution of love is also going to be all about, is loving yourself enough to take those risks, to do those things that you're not quite there yet on, but that okay, well, at least you're doing it. And by having the courage to do something, even if you fall on your face, it's now you're giving other people permission to try their thing out too, to take some sort of leap of faith too. And the more we can just be honest and vulnerable with each other and just try things and be playful, it's that creates this atmosphere of where people don't have to be so buttoned up and so cool. I don't like cool. I like hot. I like, warmth and love and forgiveness and spontaneity. And even if it's just totally ridiculous and you see somebody fall on your face, at least you tried, right? It's like those kids that used to skateboard at my university. It's like you'd see them fall way more than they'd actually pull off the tricks. But it was like kind of, I don't know, there's something great about just seeing somebody keep trying. So, all right, anything else, Craig? What else we got here?
Nah, that's it, man. It's fantastic. When are we doing this again? When can we see everybody back here?
Well, I just saw, somebody asked, how do you clean yourself from your low vibrations? And I think this is what it is. You take a shower in light, and that's what we were just sort of trying to do here. We're going to develop better showers of light. I honestly think there's a couple of our videos that can be that, or find that piece of music that just gives you the goosebumps. And really, you need to imagine that shower of light. And as you imagine the shower of light and you invite that shower of light in, that's where it all, that's how you clean yourself of the low vibrations. Cool. All right. Anything else?
That's it, man. This was fantastic. Thanks for stretching yourself. Thanks for coming, everybody. And when are we broadcasting next, Garrett? When is everybody coming back to see?
All right. So we're okay. We start trying to do this around 2:30 New York time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But generally, we don't actually get the tech working until about 3 to 3:30. I don't know what time this one started, but look at what time this one started. This one's probably a little late, but figure 3 o'clock New York time, or between 3 and 3:30 New York time is when we probably will be underway. We start trying at 2:30. Eventually we'll get there. So just figure there's that window between 2:30 and 3:30 where we're trying to get this thing going. And hopefully we get faster and better at getting it going and get started closer to 2:30. But 3 is probably a good metric for now. That's New York time. And if you're not on the East Coast, just look at the time that this started. We might get there a little earlier than this, but Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And by the way, this entire episode on the Revolution of Love was inspired by someone who emailed me and asked for this episode. So Jessie emailed me and said, hey, I'd love to see something on the Revolution of Love. She emailed Garret at Wayseers, at Garret at Wayseers.com. She emailed me and said that's what she wanted. And that's what I'm here for, is to give you what you want. So if you have something that's important to you that you'd like to talk about, and you send me an email, and if I catch that email, I will do my best to bring that into the next show, or a future show if the next show has already got a program. So by all means, we're here for you. Send us comments or emails about what you would like to see. Follow us on Twitch because it's fun. And that's it. I think we're good. Anything else, Craig?
Awesome, man. We'll see you 3 o'clock on Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're going to build up a lot of momentum, and things are just going to go through the roof. So come on back.
Oh, yeah.
And bring this out into the world, you guys. That's my challenge to you. Go out and spread this revolution of love. Even if you weren't planning on leaving the house again today, make a point of it. Go out with a minute.
Yeah.
Go out and find somebody. Go get a cup of coffee and buy the guy behind you in line a cup of coffee, and high five the cashier, and just watch how that spreads love. You'll be amazed. It's so simple,
Sure.
guys. You can do this.
Yeah, and Larry asked, how can he help contribute? So if you want to help and contribute to the revolution of love, Craig just said it. Go be an agent of love in the world. If you want to contribute to this particular show, there's a link in our description that talks about how you can interrupt the show. When you follow that link, it brings you to this page where you can make a donation. So if you'd like to make a donation, we sure could use your help. We're also going to be bringing up a Patreon page. That should be coming up on Wednesday. So if you want to help us out through Patreon, it's going to be patreon.com/Garret. If you go there now, it's a bit of a mess. We haven't finished building it out, but you're still able to contribute through it if you'd like. So that's Garret. I have 1 T, 2 R's in my name. It's patreon.com/Garret. And if you'd like to help us out that way, we really could use your support. If you want to help us out through the link where it lets you interrupt, that'd be great too. And if you just want to help out with the revolution of love, let me say that's the important thing. Just tune in, turn on, tune in, and then go give out that love. And man, the more we can do that, I really feel like the more we can do that, holy smokes, we can completely transform the face of humanity, the face of this planet, by just creating this snowball effect of more and more love in our communities, in each and every one of us, that we keep sharing back and forth. And that, whew, I'd love to see that happen. All right. God bless you all. I don't know how to stop this thing. should we do the, well, you know what? I'm going to let the revolution of love go through one more time. So we'll begin on it, end on it. Here we go. Let's see if that works. It might crash a thing. If it does, hey, take care.
See you guys.